zuva rangu muponesi kunopenya apo muri murambite zvakaipa zvino zondidzikatira
apo hope dzandibata maziso angu apfigwa ndotondera kuchanaka kuna Jesu kuzorora
karaineni zuva rese ndichengete nguva dzese karaineni pamusiku kana zvemurufu rwangu
ndikombore rendombuka ndisati ndaenda mbasa ndichanaka nepanzira dakara ndisvike denga.
Jesu wangu mudiwa ndinouya kunewi mananda andibata chiripo champupuri ndiwike muponesida dakara kwanyarara unonditungamira kumbusha wekudenga timwe chidziwiriro hakuchina zvechimwe musandisiye ndega tenzi mundibatsire ndosimbira kunemwi rubatsiro zverwangu undifukidze ininge mapapiro enyu ndimi Kristu ndinoda zvese zvomunondipa simudza waputika rapandiwa norara zita renyu royera ini ndega ndashata ndazara ngezvitema mwazara ndindemutsa kundemutsa kunemwi wekuchenesa ini rega uzondirapa moyo wangu mukati zvetsimere upenyu pinda mumoyo wangu rirambe richiwerera kuzondipa upenyu zvetsimere upenyu pinda mumoyo wangu rirambe richiwerera kuzondipa upenyu rirambe richiwerera kuzondipa upenyu rirambe richiwerera kuzondipa upenyu rirambe richiwerera kuzondipa upenyu.
Good morning. morning, brothers and sisters, wherever you are. Welcome again to part 2 of our series. Today's presentation, we're going to talk about how do you stay in love. This is a big challenge, I suppose, because it's very easy to fall in love, but very difficult to stay in love. In fact, I'm reminded of our local artist, the late Marshall Munumumwe, who had a song that he used to sing, Rudo Imoto Runoto Kwichidzirwa Ana Amai. I had issues with that song because I think it just focuses on Amai and not talk anything about Anababa, because the intention of making the loving peaceful is that there is a joint effort between Baba and Amai to make sure that love blossoms in the family. But it's important because we are here as a result that somebody loved someone and they got into a marriage, and that we are actually a result of marriage. But as we live, we appreciate that there is now a lot of challenges with respect to love and the marriages. There are a lot of challenges, the partner, someone works in a different city, the husband is in a different town. There are challenges of time. Father finishes work, comes at around 9 o'clock, tired and exhausted. There are challenges of even time. You don't have quality time because even as you come back home, some have to do homework, some have to do one side business, one time a cake in the evening, or some kind of side business, farm and come back. So our work life has become so busy. So at times we fail to have time for each other. So the challenges are there. And sometimes even you grow out and become so casual with each other. You wonder whether you are still lovers or you are now a sister and a brother. And there will be normally an accusation, you no longer love me anymore. And someone says, look, I love you. If I did not love you, you would not be staying here. So there are vast challenges. And yet, Sister White says that our marriages should be like a little heaven on earth. How can we make our homes a little heaven? And I think it's something that I would want us to introspect. And I know some of the issues I'm going to talk about here may not be taken very lightly by others. And I also want you, even as you look at this as couples, partners, and even as maybe even a single parent, don't come too hard on yourself. Don't pinpoint on anyone. No. This is just a way to, bringing a candle into a dark room, and you be able to say, look, this is there. I need to put it in its correct place. That is not sitting on the rightful place. But it's not for us to be wearing the judgmental hat, because we are all sinners, indeed saved by grace. So we are going to talk about ways to staying in marriage here. And point number 1 that I would want us to appreciate is that relationships are everything. You cannot live alone and expect to be normal. In fact, recently, psychologists say that you can talk to yourself, and talking to yourself is normal as long as you don't argue. So we are born with the ability to relate. If we are confined in a solitary place, it's not comforting, because that's not what we are meant to be. We are meant to be relational in nature. So without love, our lives are empty, because love is in essence relational. So what I want us to do is to quickly just run over one to a number of suggestive ideas that I've put across. Some of them touch more women than men, and some of them touch both partners. And it is my hope and prayer that as we go through this presentation, we may find edification, and that we relate much better. Suggestion number 1 is make a total commitment to your marriage. Marriage, you can't go in there on half commitment or 50%. No. Because when you go there with a plan A and a plan B, the marriage will fail. Because already you have brought in your consciousness that if this thing does not work, I will move out. There is a need for you to put your all in all, every fiber of yourself into this relationship to make it work. The other person should be your best friend. Make your commitment to resolve your problems, because marriage is a commitment. Never ever entertain the thought of separating, because when you do, you have already cultivated the environment that will necessitate or actuate that. If you are totally committed, you will be totally liberated. So it's very important for us to appreciate that love and commitment are inextricably linked. You cannot do without the other. And therefore, you make it a policy in your heart that you want to be committed. Number two, or suggestion number two, communicate openly and honestly. It's very important to appreciate that the way women communicate and the way men communicate are totally different. And I think from a consciousness level, it's always nice to appreciate and listen to what your partner says. In fact, the other day I was reading in a book which says the rate at which we listen and the rate at which we talk are different. That's why you find at times someone will actually say, look, but it's because their rate of listening and the rate of communication can actually be different. So it's very important. Refuse to hold things back, because when you hold things back, you are not doing any service to yourself. Make sure that when you have issues, put them forward, you communicate and you discuss. If you have a problem, be open and clear about it. Don't be fuzzy. I always say, human beings are not mind readers. They can't read what's in your head unless you verbalize it. So it's important for you to be able to put it across. Don't keep secrets alone without your spouse knowing. And I know this is a very touchy area. In fact, there's a quotation that says, secrets and lies will kill a relationship. No matter how careful you are, they will eventually be caught. So it's always important that you are very open with your spouse. And I ask and challenge my fellow man, if you can't trust your wife with your password and your PIN for your ATM card, why is it that we trust them with our lives? Because they cook for us. They could have decided if they wanted to put poison in, and the next thing will be what? Will be gone. But if we can trust them with our lives, I'm sure we can trust them with these little things that suddenly at times become very big issues. So it's important for us to appreciate that we need to communicate at that level. And then never express your concern as an attack. Those are words that should never come out from anyone. That does not really sow good seeds, because ultimately, if someone is referred to and ends every day, believe you me, words are powerful. They become what they are. Someone's description of you becomes a reality. And someone would then say, look, you know what, how can I even change? I have been told in the They vindicated that. Make sure that you communicate and choose your timing for the communication. And let me be very clear. Even when you have arguments and you've had some tension, don't say, even Magunorara, you take the opportunity of praying for the issues that you're talking about. It's not right. Who are you? It will not help you anyhow. Choose your timing. Prayer time is prayer time. It must be there. No subjectivity or being rattling it with all the issues that you have just discussed. Let prayer time be prayer time. And as a father, you are there to lead your family. As a priest, done. And then choose your timing at a later time to communicate those issues that may have been an issue, that has been a problem. Number 3, ask for what you want. Make it a habit. Ask, don't demand. Ask. Sometimes how things are said can be the difference between succeeding and failing. Asking, don't misconstrue asking for demanding. No one knows what your needs are and wants are. Accept yourself. So you must verbalize them. Then also ask for help from another. It's important that if you are partners, feel for each other. If you are going to be, can you pick up kids for me today? Please, I'm sorry, when I bought groceries, I forgot to buy certain items. Please, could you, on your way from work, pick up that? And also ask what you want emotionally, physically, and I dare also say sexually. You are responsible for asking, and when you ask, do so again with the positive expectation, and also with courtesy. You don't have to demand. No one is a slave there. You are equal partners. Sometimes we have the impression that someone is the higher office than the other. Suggestion number 4, accept differences in each other. On my earlier presentation, we spoke about individual differences, that we are all born different, we are all socialized differently, we grew up differently. It's also important for us to appreciate that no one is like you. The combination of values, background, education, experience, socialization process makes you different from any other person. Never, never, never pursue the process of wanting to change someone. If you really want to get disappointed, kana kuti mumwe mapiritsi usati masvika 30 years or 40 years, go into that project or assignment of trying to change your spouse. You will be frustrated, you will be stressed. They will not change. And hear it from me again, I'll tell you, they will not change. There are certain things we have to accept that this is who they are. They will leave boots, nemasokis in the lounge, in spite of the fact that you tell them every day. They will leave the toilet seat yakavhurika, no matter that you tell them every day. They will eat vachiridza mukanwa, no matter how many times they tell them every day. So certain things you have to get to a point of accepting that certain things may not change even though you may want, because it's a coping mechanism. Accepting is a coping mechanism. Haurwari nazvo. Accept people for who they are, positive or negative. Never criticize a person on what they cannot change. Suggest your preferences. Why don't you? Ukavunza munhu kuti, imakambozvarwa sei? Do you know that particular statement, it going back, it even touches his own parents. So your words need to be seasoned. That's why the Bible says, let's be slow to talk and fast to listen. It's important for us. So we accept each other for who we are, because that's what God has made us to be. And number 5, expect the best. Don't assume that you are in a war, that whatever your wife or your spouse is doing in that home, they are all intended to kill you, or they are intended to foist you, they are intended to hate your ego and your self-esteem. No. Assume the best. Whatever your wife has done, whatever your husband has done, they are all being done with the good intentions. So never, never expect that there's a hidden agenda. Negative prejudging ruins a relationship. There's nothing as when you have a reputation of knowing that whatever you are going to do, someone is not going to be appreciative. You go into some withdrawal syndrome, and you can even hear someone. They can tell what's going to happen next because of what has happened. Negative prejudging does not help our relationship at all. Express positive expectation to your wife and always say, I believe in you. That's a sweet music to the ear, to believe in someone. Because you have confidence in them, you trust them, you believe that they have good intentions, not just for you, but for even for the family. And expect to be loved and be a person who is also lovable. I think it's very important for us to know that. And then obviously, suggestive number 6, encourage the other person. We all go through difficult times. Someone is stressed, someone is on a report, someone investigated, they suspect. Please be the bedrock. Those comments don't help. You actually already, do you know that if someone has faltered, they already have themselves to blame already. And the worst thing that you can ever come to do is to pour petrol on something that's already burning. Be the source of encouragement and inspiration. He is a good person. He can achieve anything. He's good at this thing. Nothing propels a spouse as believing in them. Build him or her. And when they have a setback, and also look at the good in any bad situation. Let him see her or his lesson, and always tell them that they are the best, they are smart, and there's none like them. And also let's be very careful about kind words build. Sometimes it's how something is said. There's always a good way of saying something bad. Someone once said, you can tell someone to go to the degree that they actually look forward to a journey. You must always be able to package it away. How are you packaging even something that is may not be as palatable? Package it such that it actually is acceptable by the other part. Suggestive number 7, be a good listener. I could do a whole presentation on this very suggestive area. Be a good listener. Isn't it amazing that God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth? But sometimes when we talk to our spouses, someone acts as if they have 2 mouths and 1 ear. God knew that we needed to do more listening than talking. It's very important that we listen attentively and don't suffer from a disease called already listening. I'm sure some of you have attended workshops and seminars. When someone is already talking, someone is already lifting up their head. In some instances, what that individual is going to talk about is the very thing that individual was talking about. It's because already they were constructing a sentence in their mind that at the moment someone else was talking and they could not listen. So we say that individual is actually suffering from a disease called already listening. Don't suffer from that. We normally call it an emotional bank account. When you listen, you are depositing into your emotional, because at the time they've finished, they will have the ability to also listen. And look, remember that even in falling in love, you proposed, and the lady listened. And he said, look, no, can I come back to you with the answer, maybe a day or 2 or a week? And then when they came to deliver the message, I'm sure as a husband or a spouse, you also listened to what they said, which was on the affirmation. So listening is the marrow of your relationship. In fact, we say it in the corporate world that listening is called the white magic. You need to be able to listen. Even when something is being said is boring, listen. Because you will also have your chance to listen. And also at times you need to paraphrase so that you make sure that you understand what the individual said. Did I understand you to say this is what you wanted me to do? Did I understand that your viewpoint was this? In that way you begin to appreciate, and they also appreciate the fact that you wanted to make sure that you have got the correct understanding of what the individual has said about. So it's very important, even what we call reflective listening. If someone is saying, you also need to be nodding to say that you can't be saying, okay, I know I'm multi-skilling. I can listen in while you're on the phone. No. Put this thing aside and listen, because their whole being is focused on what is being said. So like I said to you, we could do a whole day's discussion. And then suggestive number 8, seek first to understand than to be understood. The cry of the human soul by Stevie Covey says is to be understood. But half the time there is a competition. We normally say that is the dialogue of the deaf. Yeah? Collective monologue. And yet it's very important. You need to first, like I keep saying, deposit your emotional bank account, because you are listening. Focus on understanding the other person first. And then you ask the question, what do you mean? Practice the reflective listening. Again, don't be judgmental. The better you understand each other, the better you stay in love. I can attest to that. The most basic of all human needs is the need to understand and to be understood. The best way to understand people is to listen to them. That's how we understand them. So next time when you have issues or you are all attempting to talk at the same time. In fact, I like when I tell kare right kune wachira panga mwanasikana wao mzukuru. Mwanawe hanzazi. Kana wakwenda kana matanga bopoto mwanawe hanzazi. Funda mvura. Funda mvura was depicting that you put in water and then you hold the water in your mouth, which really reflected that the conversation would literally end, because conversation can only flourish if there are two individuals that are all juxtapositioning and wanting to compete and talk at the same time. But when one speaks alone, there's almost a threshold. You can't talk alone for a while. If you can, because conversations are not by nature reciprocal. So Funda Mvura was meant to make sure that you quell the partner or the husband so that there is conversation. So all I would want to urge you that next time when there is that conversation and discussion, chimbofunda mvura, And not just when and listen to what your wife is saying. And then mozotaura later. And that can actually help. Suggestive number 9 talks about set reasonable standards. Don't put in standard that you all know kuti azvikwanisiki. You know, you ask someone, kana mazobva kutotora mwana chikoro, mozofuna muchitora masake chikafu cheugu, mabva ikoko mozo. There is a limit to what these two hands can do. There is a limitation to what even Mazuano with issues, the movement, traffic, you are asking too much in a particular given time. And also don't expect another person to be perfect. We all have strengths and weaknesses. We all have strengths and weaknesses, both spouses. We have our strong points and our weak points. And it's not always nice to be focusing on the weak points of another because we are partners in this relationship and we want to build each other. So we'd rather focus on the positive traits, fall in love with the positive traits, and obviously your relationship will flourish because you are also not perfect, you're ills. And I always say to people that what works for business can also work for families. Sometimes it's important to do an introspection of your relationship and say, look, let's have a strategic seminar about how we must be able to move our family. And you can do that, and if you can do, let's do our stop, start, and continue with respect to even to our relationships. What are the things that I do as your husband that I must stop? What are the things that I do as your husband that you like about me that I should continue to do? And what are the things that I have not done as a husband that I must start doing? You do that, you switch over. In an environment, tension-free and no arguments at all. I think that does help. So you need to set reasonable standards for each other. And then point number 10, build self-esteem and make him feel important. Everyone has got an ego. And when that is hurt, we don't take that very kindly. So we need to read that we are not all perfect, but we need to promote that self-esteem, that self-confidence. Let's be agreeable. Appreciate your spouse. Admire him. Seek approval. Because that's what makes us propel. Suggestive number 11. Never go to bed angry. Arguments. This is a story for another day. I think it's important for us to appreciate that when you have had an argument, try as much as possible to actually solve it there and then. If you can't, pack it for a day or a week, and then you attend back to it when your emotions are all calmed, and I think you have had a reflective thought about what made you argue on that particular day. Then we also be self-righteous. There are people who think that they have the right to criticize others, and be prepared to apologize. Can I say this direct? Apology is not a sign of weakness. In fact, let me even speak to my fellow brothers. It's not a sign of weakness, but it tells you that you are human. And a wife will have a respect. And it will again vindicate that you are not a saint. So it's important. You must always make sure that you apologize if you are wrong. And you have respect of your wife, your kids. Don't go for 2 weeks, kneel by mouth. Good morning. It's not healthy for you. You know, friends come, you start to act and pretend as if everything is normal. When the friends and relatives have gone, go back to the same position. That's not healthy for you. What if one has an accident while you're actually not talking to each other? What image are you going to leave behind? It's important to make sure that you solve your problems. Then point number 12, visualize the other person as ideal. You remember, go back to the times that you were dating. You know, I always tell people that we had no cell phones during our time, so you'd go at the call box. At the call box, you would wait until your turn comes. But you would revere. You know, look at that. And sometimes when you introspect and visualize the other person from the good and perfect, normally that individual will come back. But if you see this person is a weird, tension and abusive, again, that's what they will become. So it's important. That person is ideal, and remind them how they used to treat you and handle you and revere you. They need to be reminded constantly so that they see the good that they used to do. Suggestion area number 13. Treat the other person like he's the most important client. This is your spouse, your number one client. is the client. I teach customer service in many of my workshops, and one of the things that I normally tell people that even from a family perspective, go home, munobvunza baba kuti munofara here neservice yangu, or baba enda mubvunza vadzimai kuti munofara here neservice yangu, because he's the number one biggest client you have. You must treat them like a king, like a company, because he is your number one priority. Treat her as if he's the most important person in your life. She is your diamond, he is your diamond. I will see diamond anywhere because you will find it gone because it's precious. Suggestive area number 40. Remember when you were courting. The moments, the laughter, the dreams. There's this thing called cell phone. We need at some point in time to have the governance of knowing when this thing must function and when this thing must be set. I know it's very critical. We communicate, we get business, we do business on it. We also get clients on it. We communicate with the people at work. We communicate with our relatives. But at times it can be the destroyer. There are times, a friend of mine recently suggested that, look, let's build a small little basket per corner where we put all these gadgets when you come from work so that we have conversations. Because conversations between kids and the parents between themselves was dissipating, going away. And therefore, the family is drawn of that closeness. So it's important. Let's look. Relationships are like wine. They get better with the time. Focus on why you feel you are in love and what brought you together. Marua, happy. I've heard this word talk in Yavan Gutanzi. Look, ukabata hoe, waisamo homo, ungaifide, uchipa wemus waibata. That's weird and absurd. The comparisons and the scenarios are totally different. You need constant. Marua ngawe, tell them you love them, text them. The next joke you know, send kumdzimai wako. Kuma outings, akungoendi kugumisira kwenda kuma hotel nekuti vanhu vari kuenda workshops ekubasa. Have time. Sometimes even kuenda kumutora kwenda for a cup of tea is enough. You spend quality time 45 minutes away from the kids. You can go and park in the yard and spend 20 minutes. The kids must get used to no, this is Daddy and Mama's time. They are having quality time with it together. So remember the courting times. Maringa achipota achichinjwa. Otora. Number 15, forgive freely. There is no love without forgiveness. And there is no forgiveness without love. Sometimes we forgive not because we are wrong, but because staying in love robs us of the happiness. So psychologists have actually attributed that forgiveness is a key element in the mental health. Forgive, because you are also fallible. You are also human. That's why a writer says to err is human, but to forgive is divine. It's not easy, but nevertheless, forgive. That's why I'm going to forgive us our trespasses as we forgive others. So kana mchina matambao makagumbana musina kuregerana namato kungorwa ceiling uchidzoka pasi. It's important that we forgive, and we do so. We don't want to be holding grudges. It's very bad to be holding grudges all over. It's like holding a glass of water. The first few minutes is not heavy, but as you carry it, hours it becomes heavy. And that's how forgiveness can actually be able to pick it up. And then for number 16, apologize for your mistakes. You are not perfect. When you say sorry, you are forgiving yourself. If he or she doesn't accept it, it's not your problem. The key word is that I could be wrong, and often, sometimes I am. It is the refusal to say I'm wrong that makes people defensive or dig in. So it's important for you to realize that you are also human, and that you cannot actually forgive, and that you make mistakes. Suggestive area number 17. Offer to help. Acts of kindness. Can I do the dishes? Can I pick the kids for you today? Can I do the homework? And I'm coming very strongly to my brethren. When you come back to work, take the newspaper, my cell phone, your legs on the table, sofa. You're not helping. And you're expecting that person who has also been at work, coming and preparing food, making sure that he does the homework for the kids. And Mark bedroom, you expect cooperation again. No. I think let's be mindful. Let's help at home. Let's help the kids. Let's help even in the kitchen sometimes when we can. They must have a day this day when the daddy prepares food for them. Area number 18, learn about their interest. I think it's very key to learn each other's interest. And let's not be judgmental. If it's golf, One day go with your husband for what? Just get to know what he does. If your wife likes certain areas of interest, take interest. If it's jogging, go with her the other day, or even to gym. Learn about the subject and ask intelligent questions. Know what the other person does. Compatibility is very key in marriage, and the ability to accept someone else's interest and appreciate them is as important as you expect your own interests, which are different from yours, to be appreciated and accepted. So it's key. So it's never, you keep learning. Suggested area number 19, accept complete responsibility. When all is said and done, someone is responsible. It takes a whole lot of maturity for someone to say, this is me, the buck stops at me, I messed up, and I take full responsibility. Because things will happen. And don't come up with excuse, don't blame. Even if you come up with a very good excuse why something has not been done, it doesn't make it done. Just accept responsibility. Don't complain, don't give someone the blame syndrome. Accept responsibility. And when you blame others, you literally actually give your power away and you lose your balance. But when you accept responsibility, it tells you that you're human and that you're an individual who is mature and balanced, and accept the fact that you can falter just like anyone else. As I close, take time to be together. Create chunks of time. Talk to each other. Sometimes you need to switch off the phone, switch off the cell phones, switch off the computers, and just to talk and laugh. That time is very important. It's quality time that you want. While you drive, switch off the radio. This Patisani and whatever, KGVS, they've got their time, but have time. You maximize the time that you can have with your wife. Plan vacations, and when you plan them, pay for them in advance. Don't let our wives because Easter kumusha, Heroes kumusha, Christmas kumusha, they end up going kumusha, and when we go there, they're having to they end up hating what is ordinarily a vacation that's supposed to be. And I'm not saying my parents. Once in a while we will do that, but not become a pattern. Let's also plan excursions and vacations away that we can make our families live together. Take walks together, even within the neighborhood. Quality time. Have coffee. Coffee, I do. Take time to be together. Touch your wife. I got this from a friend of mine. He says, touch your wife 10 times a day. Give her a 15 minutes kiss every day. Spend 90 minutes in intimacy every week. And spend 20 minutes of conversation 3 times a week. And always ask the 3 cardinal questions to your spouse. How can I love you more? How can I be more available to you? How can I save you or him better? It is my prayer, brothers and sisters, that as we develop shared goals as family, sit down, we'll make our lives and relationships much better. Get to know. And even as you have introspect yourself, you know where you fault. You say, "Tumanyika tunoti chipondera msaki kana uchipura chibage, unoisa chibage oisamu sagi otsvaga mutsi. Woro unoti handisi kurowa chibage ndiri kurowa saki." Perchance one of these suggestive areas I've spoken about has touched on you. It's important for you to be reflective and own up and be changed and accept to be a better person. If you have been doing good things already, thumbs up. Continue to do that is good. And even as you grow on together, may you cherish each other, because this is a commitment. You have no other chance to say, look, I will go the other way. In fact, there's no plan B. There's only plan A, because God never commands, although he approves divorce through adultery or fornication, he does not command us to divorce our wives. It's important for us to be able to appreciate. You stay together and you stay in love. Embrace a lot of these principles we've spoken about. I've often said in my workshops that to know and not to do is not to know. To learn and not to do is not to learn. To understand and not to do is not to understand. And it is my hope and prayer that these few suggestive areas we have spoken about today will change your lives for the better and for the kingdom. That even when the history of your life is written, of your marriage is written, people look at you and say, look, there goes a couple. As we come to the end, I also believe that as families, you need to have shared goals. A couple that prays together stays together. Develop your vision together, your 5-year, your 10-year, your 20 years plan together. What will it look like when you have 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and so on? Take out paper and write it down in terms of as a couple. Because when you share your goals, when you share your future in terms of what you would want it to be, incidentally, your relationship is cemented. And it is my prayer and hope that as we've listened to this sermon, we will introspect ourselves, self-correct, without even pinpointing at someone, but looking at ourselves as individuals. How can I be able to serve my husband better? How can I be able to serve my wife better? How can I be able to love my husband better? Focus on those strategies. You should be looking at that, because that will make us individual. I always refer to chimanyika kuti tinoita chipondera musaki, tinoisa chibage, toisa musaki, tosunga, toponda chibage chiya. Asine chiti tikuponda saki. Saka iwe kana wazorowa techiti aiwa itaponda tatikuponda saki. So my hope and expectation that in these suggestive discussions we have had today, pane chimwe chinogona kunge chakubata. Kana chakubata icho self-correct. Don't go and pinpoint and tell you ndima ngamchirehwa paya, apa ndima amchitaurwa paya. Self-correct, because when you self-correct, you have the humility to accept that you are human. You have the humility to accept that you have faults. You have the humility to accept that you and only you can make your marriage better. I always say, marriage is like a computer, garbage in, garbage out, and any number times 0 is equal to 0. So if you contribute to 0 to your relationship, the result that will come out is 0. But if you make it a conscious effort between the two of you to make this thing work, it will work, and it requires no other than the two of you to make the marriage work. But it starts first with you as an individual. And it is my hope and expectation that our marriages become the little heavens, and that these suggestive issues we spoke about today will make us better individuals, better and lovable individuals, and that we look back and say, that message changed my life, that message changed my relationship, not just with ourselves, but with God. Can we bow down our heads in prayer? Our kind and loving Father, I want to thank you for the gift of life. We have come to the end of this presentation that admonishes us to love, and how we can make our lives and our marriages a better and little heavens on earth. Lord, as human beings, we have faults. We come short in many ways to the standards that you expect of us. But we implore that your Holy Spirit may be able to guide us. Remove the selfishness and the ego that exists in certain relationships and individuals. Can we look at you, who was the role model, who, though God succumbed to the cross of Calvary, the humility that you had, may we have the humbleness in our relationship, that when we look better, we look back, we look and believe that God has indeed blessed us. Let our kids admire and cherish our marriages. Let the next door neighbors, let even the communities look at us and adore us. And not that we will come, that adoration may come to us, but glory and honor be given to you. Be with us forevermore, for we pray in Christ's name. Amen.
Ridzani turi inzwi guru Jesu uno uyaje farai wa fambi tendai imani Jesu uno uyaje Jesu no uyaje ungiranyije makomo imi Jesu no uyaje nyenye yakafa iwe nembiri Jesu no uyaje Jesu no uyaje nyanza taura nema nandayo Jesu uno uyaje apo pajecha kunyikatese Jesu no uyaje Jesu no uyaje pasiri notine kutendeka Jesu uno uyaje champupuricho nekuvuvuta Jesu no uyaje Jesu no uyaje Druti te pasiti no shatiwa Jesu uno uyaje Waru wawanda banu wafamba Jesu uno uyaje Jesu no uyaje Jesu no uyaje Jesu no uyaje
Master, the tempest is raging, the billows are tossing high. The sky is overshadowed with blackness, no shelter or help is nigh. Carest thou not that we perish? How canst thou lie asleep when each moment so madly is threatening, grabbing the angry deep? The winds and the wind shall obey my will. Peace, 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 peace. Whether the wrath of the storm-tossed sea, or demons, or men, or whatever it be, no water can swallow the sheep will lie. The master of ocean and earth and sky, they all shall swiftly obey my will. Peace be still, peace be still. They all shall swiftly obey my will. Peace be still. Master, with anguish of spirit, I bow in my grief today. The depths of that heart are the trouble. Awaken and save, I pray. Torrents of sin and of anguish sweep all my sinking soul, and I perish, dear Master. Oh, hasten and take control. The winds and the waves shall obey my will. Peace, 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 peace. Whether the wrath of the storm-tossed sea, or demons, or men, or whatever it be, no water can swallow the sheep will lie. The master of ocean and earth and skies. They all shall sweetly obey my will. Peace be still, peace be still. They all shall sweetly obey my will. Peace be still. Master, the terror is over. The elements sweetly rest, and sun is uncovered the mirror, and heaven's within my breath. Linger, O blessed Redeemer, leave me alone no more. And with joy I shall make the blessed harbor, and rest on the peaceful shore. The winds and the waves shall obey my will. Peace be still, peace be still. Whether the wrath of the storm or sea, or demons or men or whatever it be, no water can swallow the ship where lies the master of ocean and earth and skies. They all shall sweetly obey my will. Peace be still, peace be still. They all shall sweetly obey my will.